Run us through the numbers out of China and also Hubei province.
Yeah, so an additional, as you say, more than 400 cases, around 406 cases reported today out of China. That compares, and this is important, to around 508 yesterday. So a decline in additional cases. As you say, the total here is looking like a little over 78,000. But the numbers that we're getting today, again, really underscores the theory, and if you trust the data that's coming out of China, it underscores the theory that there is a continued moderation in terms of the infection rate here in China. Again, the vast majority of infections and deaths, in fact, all the deaths reported today out of Hubei province, 52 deaths. So the total death count now here in China, 2,715. Also important to point out that 2,400 people or thereabouts were discharged over the last 24 hours. So you're looking at a total of about 30,000 people who have reportedly now recovered from this disease here in China. But as you've been saying, it isn't just China that's in focus, of course. It's the rest of the region, in fact, the world. South Korea, of course, you're looking at a 12th death there now. And, of course, over 1,100 reported cases in that country. Over in Europe, of course, there's concerns there, particularly in Italy, where you've had around 11 deaths. And, of course, in Spain, where you've got about 1,000 people quarantined. You've got new cases being reported in countries like Switzerland and Croatia, additional cases in Austria as well. And as you also said, the US really stepping up its preparedness. At least the CDC is, even if the White House isn't. The CDC is saying they've got an emergency plan. If they put it in place, it's going to be disruptive. You could see school closures, maybe some events shut down as well. But they want to be in the position where if this does increase in the US, where the count number in terms of infections is still relatively low, they want to be in a place where they can effectively control that. What the White House is saying is that they've already got it under control. Larry Kudlow, the chief economic advisor, is saying we've got this contained. It's a bit of a different message from the CDC, though.
And Tom, we know that there are millions of Chinese businesses, most of them the smaller private businesses that are really in a race against the clock just to survive, right, as economic activity remains affected. What more is China doing, given that a lot of these businesses are saying that they haven't been able to access the funding despite the liquidity injections and the monetary policy loosening?
Well, we got a terminal chart that David Ingles made up for us earlier from a business survey that was released a couple of hours ago from the Chung Kong Graduate School of Business. It is a business conditions index, and they described it as shocking what they're seeing. This is a record drop for this index. For the month of February, it fell from 56 to 37, with 50 being the line between expansion and contraction. And they look at everything from profits and sales to investment. So that is, again, a reminder of the pressure that private companies are under. And that is why you're seeing the State Council, again, in the last 24 hours or so, coming out and outlining additional measures, including, by the way, VAT cuts for companies that are operating out of Hubei. At least those VAT costs are going to be withheld between March and May. They won't have to pay those costs. For the rest of the country, private companies operating in the rest of China, VAT will be cut from 3 to 1%. They're also stepping up funding for the banks. Again, $71 billion for re-lending that they want the commercial banks to lend for the private companies here. Again, the private sector accounts for 60% of GDP and about 80% of jobs here in China.